Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Saturday's edition of the Doctor Who Daily. And today we're talking about River Song. I love Alex Kingston as River Song. And today I'm re-watching the two-parter that first introduced her to the Doctor Who universe. Stephen Moffat's Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead two-parter. Again, Moffat outdoes himself. At this point, Stephen Moffat's imagination was bubbling and doing overtime. This may be my favourite Stephen Moffat story, and I have a lot of ones that I absolutely love. I personally think it's much better than Blink. It's a two-parter. He really gets to weave his magic into this story. But to me, the River Song Doctor Love story is much more interesting than Rose and the Doctor, because River Song is an archaeologist. She's already an intelligent, independent woman, and she's more than a match for the Doctor. But she enters the Doctor's life in this library with all the information from the universe, right? And she literally blows his world wide apart by telling him that they've already met in the past, and she whispers his actual name in his ear. Now, Stephen Moffat, as we know, was obsessed with the whole Doctor Who thing and the Doctor's name. The Doctor's name was mostly mentioned, although we don't know his name, but it was always mentioned by Stephen Moffat. I don't think an RTD episode ever kind of got into the context or the discussion of the mystery of the Doctor and his name. So this is a massive episode in Doctor Who history, and she blows the Doctor's world wide open when she whispers his name in his ear, and he knows there's only one way she would ever know his name, only one reason he would ever tell her his name, and it's because they're in love, that they've been lovers. I'm assuming they were lovers, yeah? That's a given. But so this is a great love story because the Doctor meets River out of context, kind of backwards in time. So the concept that Stephen Moffat come up with here is sensational. So the Doctor's got this great love affair with a really intense, interesting, intelligent, independent woman, but he'd never met her in the right order. So by the time Moffat finished his run, we actually got a kind of conclusion to all of this in The Husband of River Song, which was a Christmas special. And in the end, the stuff that's referenced in this very two-parter comes to fruition in The Husband, or is it The Husbands of River Song? I can't remember now what it was exactly called. But the point is, everything that he kind of promised us in the first introduction to River Song, in this kind of mystical mystery love affair that she had with the Doctor, is kind of spread out. In this story, in his whole 7-year era, the story is all there. And it's a wonderful love story. Moffat recently worked on something called The Time Traveller's Wife as well. So, if anyone knows how to do a great, expansive, time-travelling love story, it's Stephen Moffat. But the actual concept of River Song is amazing because ultimately she ends up being the love child of the Doctor's companions, Rory and Amy. Again, how did Moffat come up with this kind of stuff? If you didn't watch Doctor Who and someone was telling you about this, you'd think, Jesus Christ, this is nonsense. But when you're actually watching it, it's not nonsense. Or if it is nonsense, it's great, fantastic nonsense. And that's what Doctor Who's about. Fantastic nonsense. And Stephen, as I say, Stephen really outdid himself with River Song and this whole story. And, when I watched this later on, obviously I watched it many times before, David Tennant and Alex Kingston together are so powerful. in this episode. She even knows information about Donna, which is all part of the season 4 arc as well, which is brilliant. So, you know, River Song has information. She's a bit like Captain Jack in the way that she's kind of got these doctorish kind of mannerisms and kind of knowledge that she shouldn't really have, just like Captain Jack, because she's been, because the Doctor's meeting her out of context. She's meeting the Doctor out of context. And she's got this diary, and she don't let anyone read it. And if anyone tries reading it, she goes, spoilers, which I love. So the whole thing, and the diary looking like designed as the TARDIS, having the TARDIS design in the front, and it's all blue. Look, it's just brilliant. You wouldn't see this in any other movie franchise or any other TV series, IP. So it's just brilliant. The way it's done, the way it's catalogued, the way they keep on meeting out of context, it's so good. And this is why I love Doctor Who. So Doctor Who is so good because it's British made. That's not me trying to be kind of, putting Americans down or Hollywood down. But there's something different about this. British craftsmanship is something different. And it's famous. British craftsmanship, of course, is famous for being the best craftsmanship in the world. What I'm talking about is the way these British writers have revived Doctor Who and told a really deep story, kind of stoically based on characters that you can relate to. And you can absolutely relate to this relationship between River and the Doctor. Now, what's brilliant about this is, of course, now, I don't think we knew this at the time, but it's clear that Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies agreed that Stephen would replace Russell as the head writer and showrunner of Doctor Who. So in a way, Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead is kind of a backdoor pilot for Stephen Moffat's new Doctor Who, which is exactly continuing from what the show's always been. It's not a reboot, but it's kind of a backdoor pilot. It's the entrance of his arc, of him weaving his magic. And, I will always call Stephen's era as Doctor Who head writer showrunner inconsistent, but there's so many marvellous things within it. And I think the problems only started when he realised that Matt was leaving, Karen and Arthur were leaving, because I think that kind of surprised him. I don't think he certainly didn't want Matt to leave. Matt and him become very close friends, and that really broke him. And I think it's when Matt leaves, it's after Matt leaves where he kind of starts to lose his way. But still, with Capaldi, comes up with great things. The season 9 two-parter thing is amazing. The whole Davros, the Doctor saving Davros, it's like Churchill having the opportunity to save Hitler, right? Look, Moffat, conceptually, Moffat has been the most great imaginative writer ever to touch Doctor Who. In terms of concepts, he's come up with the best concepts. Now, you know my opinion of RTD. I think the man's a genius and he's brilliant and he's right. He's a better showrunner than Moffat, but Moffat, if you're looking for imagination, fairy tales, creating his own Doctor Who fairy tales, I would say he's better at Davies at that. But Davies is brilliant at moulding something together, moulding a world together as well. Because very shortly we're going to talk about, the season 4 finale, Journey's End, just to talk about what Russell did there and what he was attempting to do with that episode. But just going back to Moffat and River Song and this two-parter, which I'm so excited to rewatch today, because when something's so good, it doesn't matter how many times you've seen it, it's just absolutely sensational. And River Song has this fabulous arc, even kind of, forced to assassinate the Doctor. So that's another thing as well. The whole thing of this River Song Doctor love story is sensational. And as I say, the River Song thing is so unconventional, and Moffat is such an unconventional writer. That's what made him perfect for Doctor Who. That's why his Jekyll retelling is perfect. That's why his Sherlock Holmes retelling, modernization of Sherlock, is fantastic. Because he and his good friend and co-writer Mark Gatiss are very unconventional writers which makes them brilliant. Because instead of telling bland stories that we've already been told a billion times before, they were telling us new stories. We were in Sherlock, Jekyll, and what Moffat did with Doctor Who was totally unconventional. Now, sometimes that got him in trouble with the fans, not with me. I must admit, when Doctor Who Season 5 first started, I could tell it was a culture shock. So different to what RTD did, and it took me a long time to get used to it. But I do rate Stephen Moffat as one of the best writers, one of the best storytellers in the world. Now let's go back to RTD and the season 4 finale, Journey's End. Now, Journey's End is very interesting because at that moment that everybody is piloting the TARDIS, not Jackie, not you, Jackie. I love that bit when the Doctor won't allow Jackie to help pilot the TARDIS. Yeah, you wouldn't allow Jackie Tyler to pilot a car or drive a car, let alone a fucking, the greatest, vastest time ships in the galaxy. But what RTD is doing here, you've got Captain Jack, you've got Sarah Jane, you've got Donna Noble, you've got all of them, Rose, Martha, they're all piloting the TARDIS. And that's RTD. He's showing off a bit, if you like. He's saying, look at what we did. Look at the vast universe we created. We had Doctor Who, we had Torchwood, we had the Sarah Jane adventures. Look at these characters. Look at the doctors we gave you, Eccleston and Tennant. And I know Eccleston wasn't there, unfortunately. I do believe the human meta-crisis doctor probably would have been Christopher Eccleston if he and Russell T Davies and Julie Gardner and Phil Collinson didn't fall out. So it's a big tragedy for me because that would have celebrated everything. That would have been perfect. But still, it's Russell T Davies saying, look at what I did. Look at what we did. And if we just think about that for a moment, look at what Russell T Davies did. It's amazing. And this is what I'm talking about, British craftsmanship. There's just a different type of quality when I watch an English drama. When I watch two actors, British actors in a soap opera doing a dramatic, huge set piece, dramatically when an affair is revealed or something, it just hits harder than it does when the Americans do it, in my opinion. And there have been rare times in history where the Americans can go to that level of ability and talent. But what Russell T Davies achieved with the revival is there to see in Journey's End, and seeing all these characters, formidable characters that he mostly developed. Obviously, Sarah Jane was there before RTD, but he made the decision to bring her back because he recognised she is the one female companion in Classic who wasn't sexualised, who wasn't treated badly. She was there because she was a great actor, she was there because the character was great, and she's one of the most popular companions in Doctor Who history. He brought her in, gave her own show, created her own universe. It was brilliant. And it's a great epitaph in the legacy of the late, great Liz Sladen, who we all miss every single day. If you love Doctor Who, you love the late Liz Sladen. When I heard she died, I was utterly shocked and devastated. And it was great for her daughter to come on Breakfast TV as she did when Liz died, and just talk about Liz's love of the fans and the show. And you could tell Liz loved the fans and the show, and it was great. And also, it puts pay to the kind of situation where apparently male Doctor Who fans are sexist and misogynist. Well, a female member of Doctor Who from Classic Who and the modern show absolutely loved male, female, and all Doctor Who fans. So that puts pay to that. We don't hate people because of their identity, but we will criticise creative bankruptcy. There's a difference. So they're all piloting the TARDIS, and it's great. And that's Russell T Davies saying, look, Stephen Moffat ain't going to use my stuff. I mean, I think we saw an ode and little things like that. Even when Billie Piper came back into the 50th, he didn't bring her back as Rose Tyler, he brought her back as Bad Wolf. Which is interesting, isn't it? Because I always had this theory that Stephen didn't like Rose Tyler. In the first 2 episodes he wrote in season 1, he put that Union Jack top and made her honestly, she was annoying. He made her annoying. Season 2, he kind of let her go away and play with Mickey, and she wasn't part of the central story. But even worse, he made Rose watch the Doctor literally get it on with another woman. So I definitely believe he did not like Rose Tyler, in my opinion. I'm not saying he didn't like Billy. There's a difference between Billy and Rose, obviously. But yeah, clear to me that Moffat never liked Rose. But yeah, it's just the celebration of this whole revival in a way, and what RTD created, and that's what you see by them piloting it. But what I find very interesting, if we just move on from this moment, is we see this happy ending. Now, you imagine, as you're seeing that, they're all going to disperse, the Doctor says goodbye to everyone, and the Doctor Donna go on and keep on travelling. There are 5 specials still to go at this point, on this finale. You've got The Next Doctor, you've got Planet of the Dead. I do not like that episode, I really don't. I don't like the Lady D'Souza. We'll get into it on another video. So you've got Planet of the Dead, you've got The Waters of Mars, then you've got End of Time Part 1 and 2. You've got 5 episodes to go, which Donna could have been a part of. But instead of leaving you with a happy ending, because RTD could have easily did that. He's wrapped up his era. He's still got some stories to tell. Literally, those 5 specials are another season, because David Tennant couldn't do 13 episodes because he was doing a play, Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, whatever he was doing, so he couldn't do it. But those 5 episodes had, literally an hour each, maybe a bit more, some of them. So there was a lot of kind of stuff there, and it was great, and it all worked out in the end. So what he does is, he literally has this thing where Donna has consumed elements of Time Lord DNA, and she's become the human Metacrisis Doctor alongside the human Metacrisis Doctor. But her brain is burning. So to save her life, the Doctor has to wipe all her memories off him. If she ever remembers him, her mind will burn and she will die. And obviously we see her a bit in the End of Time Part 1 and 2. And of course she's coming back to the 60th anniversary special. Apparently that was Kathy's idea and brought the old gang back together in David Tennant and herself. If that's true, well done on her. So this is going to continue, by the way. This is not over. So Donna was this shouty, aggressive, angry companion in The Runaway Bride. But then being inspired by the Doctor, and when she leaves him behind at the end of that episode, she starts travelling to places like Egypt, but then realises she should have turned down his offer to go with him. So then she goes on these adventures in Series 4. She's a much better person now, thanks to, being inspired and influenced by the Doctor. But she still holds him to task. She's a great character. But then we have the heartbreak of Donna losing all the evolution. That's heartbreaking. I can't watch that without crying every time. It's huge, and it's going to be very interesting what they do with that in the 60th anniversary special, because Tennant's Doctor, or whoever he is, I'm still not convinced it's actually the Doctor, but anyway, it could actually be the human Metacrisis Doctor. Makes sense, we've discussed that before. But be interesting what the conclusion will be here. How can she remember the Doctor? How can she see the Doctor again? We've seen pictures of them together on screen, so that's interesting as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. They could even, if it was me, I'd just give them their own spin-off, because I have kind of hinted that one of my theories is that previous Doctors will get their own Doctor Who spin-offs, and we're dealing with a more multiverse thing here. And Ncuti Gatwa, of course, will be the main Doctor. So interesting stuff. But going back to what he did to Donna in Journey's End, it was a total shocker. Because as I say, he could have just ended things happily for Donna, but he decided not to. He decided that Donna wouldn't be travelling with the Doctor in his final 5 adventures as the 10th Doctor, and that was a very interesting decision. You never actually know what you're going to get from RTD. He talks about happy endings, he talks about, inspirational Doctors and things like that, and having the companions, being changed by the Doctor, but ultimately, that was a very kind of hard-hitting. I found it rewarding as someone who loves great stories and great character growth, but it was still so devastating to watch. So I appreciate it, but it was devastating and heartbreaking to watch. Would that tell you that RTD always knew he was coming back and that he would deal with that again? Or was that really the end of Donna's story? We will find out next November in 2023. And you know what, my friends? I can't wait. This has been the Doctor Who Daily here on Movies TV Mad with me, Meet, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.